I need lighter. Who has lighter? It's right in front.
So I had a theory about how to possibly find EMF 5 evidence that came to me while I was dead and waiting for my party to finish the job. I parked myself over an EMF reader that was left on the floor and watched it during the hunt. Even as the ghost crawled right over it, the EMF reader never hit over 4. By that time we already knew what type of ghost it was, and I knew EMF 5 was not an option. So that made me think, what if the ghost could show EMF 5? Well, in our very next game we had the twins, so it was a perfect time to test my theory. I watched it the whole time and even replayed the video in slow motion, sometimes frame after frame. For the most part, I was disappointed. Even though it sounded like the ghost was near me, no EMF 5. Perhaps the ghost needed to be closer? But then pay attention to what happens here. Interesting. Let's watch that again. This time pay attention to the pause and then to the noises going on in the background. So first the EMF cuts off for a moment, then it jumps to EMF 5, and then do we hear a door open in the background. There are some thoughts I have about what's happening on a technical level in the background, but first let's talk about the more pragmatic points and questions. First, the constant state of the EMF reader during a hunt is probably never going to hit 5, even with EMF 5 ghost. However, it seems that any nearby interaction by a ghost during the hunt can trigger the EMF 5. At the very least, we know door touches can. So that brings us to a number of questions. Assuming we can hide somewhere we can safely see the reader, would any interaction give us EMF 5 during a hunt, or just some? Will throws and touches during a hunt also give us EMF 5? If so, if we leave a bunch of stuff in the path of the ghost close to our hiding spot, how likely is the ghost to touch it to trigger the EMF event? Also, how close does the ghost have to be for this to work? Just close enough for the reader to be malfunctioning in the first place? I'm pretty certain that the door the ghost touched was not the one I was hiding behind, so I feel like there's going to be some leeway. Still, more testing has to be done. As for the more technical aspects, what I think is happening here is this. When the ghost is hunting and close enough for the EMF to go crazy, the default state of the reader changes to that crazy, jumping, noisy one. Then the ghost interacts with the door, prompting it to change its state. For example, to swing open a little bit if it can, or to show fingerprint textures under blacklight if it's the right ghost, and to respond to the EMF reader's polling for nearby interacted objects with a certain strength. Normally the EMF reader has a pretty short range, but it might be possible that during the hunt, the range of the EMF reader changes to that 10 meter at which all electronics start to misbehave, allowing for more distant interactions to trigger the reading. The EMF changing state from hunt to interaction probably cuts to silence because for normal interactions, the EMF reader is probably giving other things a chance to happen, such as the door start moving or the like. The more likely original state of the reader is silence, so we wouldn't notice then that it's the first playing a half second of silence before cutting over to the proper EMF level. But all of those are just technical hypotheses that are only going to be useful starting points for people that are really trying to science how these interactions and evidence works. Anyway, I hope this is helpful and leads to further discoveries that might in the future make it easier to find the finicky EMF 5 reading. Thanks for watching, and please share your thoughts with me. I want to test this theory.
What theory?
I want to see if the EMF goes up to 5 while it's hunting.